Hey everyone, welcome back to Roadside Coder. So in today's video, we're gonna make this awesome responsive navbar by using CSS Flexbox. So this navbar has these links with this cool hover animation effect. You can see, and watch when the screen gets smaller. You can see that the navbar is adapting to the screen size. Now when the screen gets further smaller, you can see all of these links except the contact me button has been converted to this hamburger menu icon. Now this icon wasn't imported from any font awesome library or any other icon library. We will create this custom icon by ourselves. Now watch when we click this hamburger icon. You see this awesome animation where the background grows in form of a circle. The menu icon changes smoothly to an X and menu links appear from the side of the screen. And these are the same links reused here from the desktop mode, so we need not to create separate HTML tags for them. And again, we also have this cool hover animation effect. So let's get started. Now before we begin, if you don't know what CSS Flexbox is, you can watch this video by clicking on the I button above, where I've explained full CSS Flexbox in just 20 minutes. So let's start by creating our HTML file. I'm gonna name it index.html. And we're also going to need a CSS file. So I'm gonna name it styles.css. Now inside our HTML file, I'm gonna type exclamation mark and press enter. So it's gonna create this boilerplate of a code. So let's give it a title of navbar tutorial. Alright, cool. And we should import our style sheet as well. So link CSS, here we go. href should be styles.css. Yeah. Let's write something over here just to test if everything is working fine or not. Hello. I'm gonna right click here and open it with live server. Now if you don't know what live server is, live server helps us to make changes in our document in real time. As you can see, my document is working fine. If I make any changes, hello there, and save it, you can see I don't have to refresh the page, it's gonna update automatically. So for downloading live server, you can go over here and type live server and just install it from here. I've already installed it. Now you can see there's some space over here. I need to get rid of this space. So I'm gonna go to our CSS file and type asterisk and margin to 0. We've got rid of this space now. Now let's remove this and create a div over here which is going to contain our navbar. So here it is. Now before moving further, I would like to declare some variables. I'm going to name one of our variable primary, and another one will be secondary. So primary's value will be a color which is a bluish color right here, and the secondary's value will be a little bit darker version of this color. So we're gonna use this primary color for the most part, and the secondary will be used in places like shadows and some borders, etc. And one more thing, I need to import a font as well. This is Montserrat. Yep, there it is. So I'm gonna go to this link over here, and I need this medium 500. And select this style and at import, and I'm going to copy this up. So let's define this at the top of our file. So our initial setup is done. Now let's move on with our main styling. So for the body, I'm going to give it a little bit of whitish color. So for background color, I'm gonna give it RGB 18.1.8.8. You can see it's a little bit of grayish whitish color. And again, we just imported a font, so we need to define a font family over here. Now let's style our nav div right here. So I'm gonna give it a height of 60 pixel, and let's give it a background color of white so it's noticeable. Yep, looks good. I'm gonna give it a box shadow 0.08 pixels and black. So this 0 is for y-axis and 0 is for x-axis if I'm not wrong. And this 8 pixel is the spread of the shadow, and of course the black is for the color of the shadow. So right off the back, I'm going to provide it display flex. So all of our components are automatically aligned in a row, which I haven't created yet. So let's just create them first. Only then you'll be able to notice what display flex does. So first of all, we're going to need a logo. For our logo, we're going to create a div. So I'm going to name this div brand, and another div for containing all of our links. Here it is. Now inside of this links div, I'm going to need a list, which is going to be an unordered list. All right, and the another thing is going to be our contact me button. So for that, I'm going to create another div, or you can create a span, doesn't really matter. Let's give this a class of contact. Let's give this UL a class of menu links, and inside of this, let's create few of the links. There we go. So first one will be home, another one will be projects. You can give any name, doesn't really matter. And you can increase or decrease the quantity of these links according to your project. And inside the contact me. Yeah. There we go. Now we haven't imported the brand image yet, so I'm going to copy an image from my computer. I'm going to paste it over here. There you go. Here's our logo of Roadside Coder. Let's just create a new folder here called data, and I'm going to move this image inside of this so that our project structure is a little bit cleaner. Okay, let's import this file. I'm going to use an image tag. Inside the src, we're going to go to data, inside of data, logo.png. Now you can see this image is huge. Now we need to make this image a little bit smaller, and also the display flex should work. I think it's not working. Yeah, now it's working. Now I have saved it. Now you can see the links have gone right over here due to display flex. So first of all, we need to make this brand logo a little bit smaller. I think I should give this class name as well. Let's give it logo, and the alt tag will be Roadside Coder logo. Cool. So I'm going to go here and type logo. I'm going to give it a height of 80 pixels. Nice. So it's a little bit, it's at the bottom right now. We have to align all of this to the center. So what I'm going to do for that, align items to center. There we go. And now you can see it has gone a little bit of upper. So I'm going to type padding top, which will be 10 pixels. Yes, perfectly in the center. And now for these links and this contact me, I'm going to style them as well. So what was the name? It was menu links. Okay, so first of all, let me style the menu links. Menu links. Let's keep the list style type to none so that we get rid of these dots. And I need to get rid of the padding as well. So padding should be 0. Fine. Now let's do the display flex. Okay, they're on single line. You can see these three are on single line and this is on the other line because we haven't given the style to their parent div, which is the links div. Let's style that as well. Links and display flex. Now all of them are in a single line. Let me just make this a little bit of bigger, and their width will be, let's say, 60%. Let them take the 60% of this container. It won't make any difference right now because these are all right next to our brand. So what do we need to do to push them all the way over there is to give our logo a flex property of 1. So let's go over here and I'm going to type brand. For the brand div, its flex property will be 1. Now again, if you don't know what Flexbox is, I've explained all of these properties in my previous video. So you can click the link in the I button or the description to watch that video. Now you see the moment I typed flex1, they all have been shifted or pushed to the right of the screen. Now the size of this div is still 60%, but we are unable to see this. So let's type justify content space between. So it's going to create a space between both of these containers, between this container and this container. Now you can see it has taken the 60% of this navbar. And now let's align these items to the center. Now down here for these links, I'm going to style them as well. So I'm going to give them justify content property as well, which will be space around. So they have equal spaces around them. Let's save this. Okay, obviously I haven't given them the width inside of this parent div, inside of this links div. So let's give them a width as well of 60%. Yep, looks good. Now there's a little bit of space over here, so what I'm going to do is make this space evenly instead of space between. Now you can see it has been spaced evenly because it has provided a space over here and space over there and the equal space between them. Now let's style these links with the animation that we saw at the start of the video. So I'm going to go inside of this menu links div and target this link tag, menu links, and target the li. So first of all, let's make the cursor to a pointer. Whoops, to a pointer, yeah. Now understand this part carefully. We're going to give it a background image, which will be a linear gradient. So what this linear gradient does is it's going to give it a color of a gradient style. So first color will be, let's say, I'm going to keep it transparent. So first color will be transparent. I don't want it to have any color. Transparent. And the second color will be our primary color. So you can see this is the gradient that has provided to these links from transparent to this particular primary color. Now, since our effect was coming from the bottom right to top left, we need to make that somehow. So what we are going to do, we're going to provide it an angle. So I'm going to provide it a 120 degree of angle. 120 degree of angle. Now you can see it has been set like that, but you can't see that because it's very smooth right now. So to remove that smoothness, I'm going to give it 0% transparent, and again at the 50% also it's going to be transparent, and after 50% it's going to be the primary color. Let's save that. You can see it appears like this now. Now I need to hide this blue part over here. So I'm going to give the background size of 300. Background size of 300. Now watch this. It has been disappeared. Now let's give it a background size of, let's say, 150. You can see it's going out. Let's give it 180. Still there. So that's why for the safe side we're going to give it a 300%. So it's completely outside now. Now how do we bring it inside of it back when we hover this links? I'm going to type this again and provide a hover pseudo element to it. Alright, now when we hover it, what I want is that background position to be shifted to the right side, because our background color, which is the primary color, it is currently in the right side of the screen, right? Of this element, not the screen, sorry. Background position is going to be right. Let's test this. Yes, you can see, but it's not very smooth. So we need to give it an transition. So transition all 0.4s. All right. There you see, looks pretty good. One more thing, we need to provide it a color of white when we hover it. Great. Now to make it even better, I'm going to provide it a padding of 8 pixel and 20 pixel. But watch what happens. When I hover it, it shifts all of the other components at the side. Now to prevent that, I'm going to give it an equally opposite margin. So inside the margin, I'm going to type minus 8 pixels and minus 20 pixels. There you go. It doesn't affect our other links at all now. Let's give it a border radius as well, 3 pixels, nice. And I'm gonna provide it a box shadow as well. And the box shadow will be of secondary color, and save this. Looks pretty good. Now for our contact me button, I'm going to do the similar procedure. So contact to the background image, but in this case, for the background image, the linear gradient will be the opposite one. So 120 degree. But the first color is not going to be the transparent color. The first color in this case will be the primary color. So this color right here, I need to copy it. First 0%, and to the half it's going to be 50%, and the third will be transparent, or you can give white, doesn't really matter. 50%. You can see it's not really looking that good, but we're going to provide it a padding of 8 pixels and 12 pixels in this case, yes, and a border of 2 pixels, solid second border radius of 3 pixels. Just like that, the background size of 300%. So we don't see this half color over here, and let's set the color as well to white. All right, looks cool. Also, I forgot to give it a box shadow of secondary color as well. Also font size of 15 pixels. Now let's give it a hover effect. So for the background position, again, this is the left position, and right position is made up of transparent color. So what we're going to do, similar to previous one, background position to right. You can see. Okay, it's not smooth yet, so again I need to provide a transition. Great. Now our contact me, to display our contact me, color should be black. Awesome. Now I want the box shadow to increase a little bit more when I hover this element. So box shadow 0, 0, and instead of 5 pixel like previous one, I'm going to give it 6 pixel of our secondary color. Let's check. It's not very noticeable, but it looks good. Okay, I forgot one thing. I haven't provided a padding to this navbar. In the nav component, let's provide a padding of, for the top down it's going to be 0, and for the left right it's going to be 10%. Alright, now it's going to give us a problem that when the screen gets smaller, you can see these icons and these links get congested. Now when I make it a little bit bigger, it's good, but when it gets smaller, it gets congested a little bit. So when the screen gets smaller, I want this padding to reduce as well. So I'm going to write a media query, max width of, let's say 800 pixels, and dot nav padding will reduce to 0 and 5%. There we go. Now when I make it bigger, wait a minute, you can see the navbar adapts right here. It's going to adapt according to the size. Now that being done, let's work on the more responsive part of our navbar, which is the hamburger menu. So when I make screen more smaller and smaller, you can see it gets so much congested, so it doesn't fit inside of this navbar anymore. So we need to create a menu to open all of these links at some other place. So I'm going to go to my HTML document again. So right over here, I'm going to create a span tag of menu. Alright, inside of this span tag, I'm going to have 3 divs with the name of line. So there we go. So we need not to give any content inside of these divs. It's going to be empty. So let's style these divs, and you can see when I saved this, it has changed a little bit. You might have not noticed, but when I remove this, you can see the position has a little bit changed because of this div. So let's style this div. So for the line part, I'm going to give it a width of 30 pixels and the height of 4 pixels. The background color will be black and the margins 2.5 pixels. Let's save this. We need to provide a little bit spacing between them as well. So let's create our menu over here, and we don't want it to appear right now. We're gonna hide it. So display none. All right. So when do we want it to appear? When the screen is smaller than 700 pixels. So let's create a media query for that. When the screen is smaller than 700 pixels, what will happen? Its display will be flex. The flex direction will be column. We want the cursor, when we hover it, to be a pointer, and the align items to the center so that it looks a little bit better. Alright, cool. It doesn't work right now, but the moment we make it bigger, you can see it's gone. When the screen is smaller, it appears. Alright, now we need to make these links responsive. according to the screen size. So when the screen size is less than 700 pixels, what's gonna happen? The flex direction will change. Oops, the flex direction will change from row to column, just like that. And we're going to align the text to center. But you can see there's one problem over here, that it's inside of this navbar component. So we need to get it out of this navbar. So we're going to set the position to absolute. Now the height of them will be 91.8 viewport height, which is the screen of, which is the height of our screen. So you can see it doesn't look very good, and the home button has been hidden up there. So let's push it to the bottom. So I'm going to give it a top of 60 pixels. Yep, they're right here. And let's give them a right of 0%. Oops, sorry, I forgot to give them the width. First, I need to give them a width, which is going to be the full width of our screen. So 100 VW. And now right will be 0. Yes, so they're right in the middle. I'm going to give it a font size of 30 pixels. And the color will be white. You'll know why. Justify content is to be spaced evenly. So that's spaced evenly in the screen. Yes, looks good now. Now what do we want it to do? When we click on this menu button, we want it to come from the left side of our screen to the middle of the screen. So we want it to be on the left side of the screen first. So for the right's value, I'm going to give 70%. So it has gone to the very left of the screen. Now you can see this doesn't look very good, the upper part. So I'm going to give it a space between when the screen is smaller. Okay, this part is working fine. Good. Now when the screen is smaller, these both should have a space between property in them. So in the dot links, I'm going to give justify content to space between, and the width should not be 60% anymore. It should be more like 53% or 50%. Yeah, 53% is fine. Now let's check. All right, looks pretty. Now we need to make this functional now. So for that, we need to write the JavaScript code. So I'm going to create a new file called script.js and need to import this file inside of our HTML. Script src will be script.script.js. Cool, we have imported our script file. Let's go inside of our script.js and we're going to declare a variable called nav. Now this nav variable, it's going to keep the state of our navbar, which will be false by default. So this navbar will decide if the menu is open, the nav will be true. If the menu is closed, the nav will be false. So by default, it's closed, so we're going to give it a false. Let's create a function over here. Const handle click. We're going to make it an arrow function. So let's target our menu link component, which is these three. So we're going to target our menu links component. So const menu links. You can give the variable any name that you like. I decided to give it menu links. So document dot query selector dot menu links. Now what's going to happen if the menu bar is opened? So menu links dot style dot css text. I want them from right side to shift to the very center of our screen. So right will be 0%. And the transition, we're gonna have to set the transition so that it smoothly come to the center. But what if this nav bar is closed? So if nav bar is closed, what's gonna happen? We're gonna copy this same text. If the nav bar is closed, right should remain to the 70%. And again, we have to give a transition as well. And I think that's all. Let's give it a transition of 0.5. And in the else part, we're going to provide this. There we go. Also, one more thing, when we have opened the navbar or we are closing the navbar, we need to inverse the value of navbar. So nav will be not nav, which is going to be converting it to true or false according to the value. So as well, nav to be not nav. There we go. Now let's try this out. But first we need to call this function whenever we click on this particular div. So let's go to our index.html and here it is. On click and we'll click. Yeah, let's try it out. And it's working fine. There we go. Okay, here's a problem. I want the width of this particular element to be smaller. So I'm going to go to my styles.css and I'm going to target the links component. And first of all, let's say background image. I'm going to set the similar effect over here as well. So I'm going to set the background image to a linear gradient for 120 degree as usual, and it's going to be first transparent and the tilts 50%, and then it's going to come up with the white color. So let's save this. Now let's see. Yes, looks good. Now we need to change some hover settings as well. So when we hover it, we want the background position to be right. Color, I want it to be black. Yes. First of all, let's change the margin of this thing. I'm going to give it a margin of -8 pixels. And for the left right, it's going to be 0. I want the font size to be increased to 32 pixels. And most importantly, the width has to be 40%. Now let's see. Whoops, what's going on over here? Okay, I haven't given it a line items of center. So I need to do that. I think it should work fine now. Yes, it's working fine. Perfect. Now let's create the animation of our hamburger menu that whenever we click it, it should convert to the X form. So let's go to our script.js and we're going to target more of these lines now. So all of these 3 divs have the same class. So I'm going to provide them the ID, which is different from each other. So line 1, sorry, line 2 and line 3. Great. Now let's target them over here. So const line 1 will be document.query selector, and I want hash line 1. Similarly, I want line 2 and line 3. Line 2 and line 3. Now what we're going to do when we click over here, we want the first line to get tilted in the right side and the third line to get tilted in the left side. Now let me show you that over here. And for the first line, so line 1 dot style.css text, what it's going to do, it's going to tilt the right side. So transform, rotate 45 degree. Oops, I hope it's going to work. Yes, it's working. Now, similarly for the line 3 and line 2 as well. You know what, I'm going to make the line 2 to be tilted to the left side, and let's disappear the line 3. So for the line 3, I'm going to give a display of none. Display none. Yeah. And for the line 2, I'm going to give it a -45 degree. Let's check it out. For some reason it's not working. Okay, line 2. Yep. So we need to take care of their position now. So in the line 2, I'm going to give it a margin top of -7 pixels. Yeah, I hope it's going to work. Yes, perfect. But you can see there's no, it's not converting back to the original position. It's because we need to provide these same styles over here as well in a modified way. So I'm going to copy it. So when I press this again, the third line should appear back. So it's going to be display block. You can see it's appearing back. Now for these, I'm going to just make this 0 degree and 0 degree. And margin top is also going to be removed. Perfect. Now let's see why the transition is not working fine. I think I have to provide it over here in the styles. Transition 0. Let's say 5. Yep. Let's try it out. Perfect. Alright, now it's time to create the background for our menu. Whenever we open this menu, a background should grow from the hamburger icon to whole of the screen. So we need to create that now. So for that, I'm going to go to my HTML file over here, and right here I'm going to create a div with a background class. Now you can see it has shifted over here because another element has appeared over here. So we're going to give it a position of, let's say, fixed. So over here, out of the media query, yeah, let's create it over here. Background, what I want background to be, position to be fixed. All right, that's fine. Now let's give it a background image, and I'm going to give it a radial gradient. So radial gradient is like a circle, a gradient in a circle which grows from the middle of the circle. So I'll explain you. So I have these two values over here. I'm going to paste it. So basically these both are our primary and secondary color, but with this transparency. Let's give this a width and height first. So width will be 50 pixels, and similarly the height will also be 50 pixels. Let's bring it to the middle by typing margin left of minus 7.5 pixels. Yep, it's in the middle. Alright, first of all, I need to give it a border radius. I forgot about that. So 50%, and the transition to be all 0.5 seconds. Now you'll see why I've given this transition in a bit. But whenever we click on it, I want it to expand to whole of the screen. Now let's go over here and click on inspect. And right over here, I'm going to give it a property of transform. And let's increase the scale to, let's say, 50. Yep, that is what we want. At 5 it's going to look like this, at 10 it's going to look like that, but we want is 50. Alright, so we're going to copy this thing. Oh, we're just going to write it over here. Whoops, let's refresh it. Yeah, first of all, we don't want it to appear over here, so I'm going to hide it behind the navbar by giving it z index of -1. So z index of -1. Alright, it's hidden now. Now let's go to our script.js and let's target this. I'm going to give it a background variable and .background class. So whenever it's open, what's going to happen? Background.css, background.style.css text. I want it to be transformed to the full of the screen, which is the scale 50. So transform to scale 50. Yep, that's more like it. Let's test it out. Yep, it's working fine, but you can see it's not going away. So I'm going to copy this line and paste it right here. And again, the scale will be back to 0. Okay, so I've realized one thing, that I've given the on click to the handle click over here. So stupid. I need to give it to the menu. Otherwise, whenever you click over here, it's going to open the menu. So yeah, that was our navbar by using CSS Flexbox, which is completely responsive in nature. Let's test it out. You can see the icons appearing. When the screen gets smaller, it converts it into this menu icon. When we press it, it's going to open the menu right here. So thank you all for watching this video. If you like this tutorial, just leave a like down below and comment if you have any confusions regarding this tutorial or any other tutorial. And subscribe to the channel because it keeps me motivated to create these awesome tutorials for you all. So thank you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.